Broken Kanu's way, and Dahui's right out of the centre. It's Kanu, what's he going to do? Oh! Can you believe it?
Hello Arsenal fans, and welcome back to a new episode of Can You Believe It, an Arsenal podcast. And it is the last episode where we are talking about actual football for the season, as the season has ended. And obviously people know how bad Arsenal have been this season, how much of a struggle it's been this season, but we've finished it on a relative positive note with a 2-0 victory against Brighton at home. We've also managed to finish it with a good run at the end of the season, winning 5 games in a row. I can't remember the last time we'd done that in the league. So it's a good finish to the end of the season, but it's too little too late for any sort of European hopes. But we will get more into that later on in the podcast, and we'll talk more about the implications for next season. But let's just start where we always do, with the team lineup. So Bert Leno started in goal. Callum Chambers was at right back with a centre-back partnership of Rob Holding and Gabriel. Kieran Tierney was at left back. A midfield partnership of Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey. So Xhaka finally back in midfield. And then a front four of Pepe on the right, Odegaard at 10, Smith Rowe on the left, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang through the middle up front. So Odegaard and Xhaka were coming in for El Neni and Saka. It was good to see Saka get a rest, because I think it's quite likely he's going to be going to the European Championships with England. So to get him a rest here was important. And it was nice to get Odegaard a start on what could be his last appearance for Arsenal. I'm not sure if it will be, because obviously we don't know what will happen in the summer window. I think Arsenal really want to buy Martin Odegaard, but obviously it doesn't depend on them. It depends on Real Madrid as well. So it was good to get him in the side, and it was good to get him in the side in front of 10,000 Arsenal fans. Now, obviously, before the game, Arsenal fans protested KSE. I saw some people protesting Mikel Arteta as well, which is fine. You're completely entitled to do what you want in terms of the coach. I think in terms of results, I don't think it's been good enough this season, even if we have finished on quite a high. But I can see why people don't like Arteta and want him gone. That's completely fair. The KSE one is obviously the one that I'm more interested in, because I don't think they're a very good ownership. I don't think they know anything about football. So to see the protest before the game was quite a smart thing, and I'm happy that the fans are continuing to protest. And obviously it was great to see fans back in the stadium. Now, it would have been good to hear more protests against Stan Kroenke and the ownership, but I think there was one chant, and I think it was completely forgotten, because I think after that Pepe scored, so there wasn't much chanting. But the fans were back in the team, which was really good. Also, I must say that they clapped the taking of the knee, which was really lovely. I heard from reports on Twitter that there was a man booing, and once they heard the booing, people clapped in unison, which was really nice, because obviously, I don't know if you know, we've heard other clubs boo the knee. I think Crystal Palace booed it when we faced them in the week. I think Chelsea have booed it as well. So I think it was nice to see our club still have some values, especially with the fans anyway, to be clapping this initiative. Now, I don't think it will run into next season. I think this will be the last season and last games that we see it. But I think it was important to continue doing it and to continue making a stand against racism. So Brighton started the better. For the first 5 minutes, they were keeping the ball well. They had really good possession. We were quite deep back. They're really good under Graham Potter. I think they are set up very well to play under him. You can tell they're well coached. They pass out from the back very well. They have really good midfielders as well. Basuma, who is someone we are linked with, had a really good game. But we started to get into the game after that. And after that, it was really all Arsenal, I think. I think we controlled the game without creating a ton of chances, but we did control the game. Partey had a couple of efforts outside the box. One just curled wide. One the keeper easily saved. Xhaka had another one which was an easy save for the keeper, but again, he could have passed it. I thought Xhaka was really good on the day, and I think he was really good at progressing the ball. And I think you miss him when he's not in midfield, and I'm one of his critics. I don't think he's good enough for where we want to go, but for now, he's definitely in our best midfield partnership without any doubt in my mind, and it's important we keep him, because even if we do bring in a central midfielder in the summer, Xhaka's going to be an important one. And if Basuma is the one, obviously the African Cup of Nations is a thing, so we sort of need Xhaka next season. But I don't think you can underestimate the effect of the fans had on this game. I think the fans were really up for it. They were really up for seeing the team do well and really supporting them, backing them, which is always good to see. Obviously, if we had a full season with fans, you would imagine that fans would have been a bit frustrated with the season, would have got onto the team more, but I think the fans were really behind the team and it helped. And I think we played some good football. I think we were good at our defensive work as well. Odegaard especially was getting back. Partey was good at progressing the ball. Smith Rowe's close control was really good. I think the fans allowed the players to get confidence. We almost had a goal when Rob Holding got onto the end of a corner. It was off the line. It was offside though. I think Partey flicked it on and Holding basically pushed it over the line. It was over the line, but it was offside. It was a good decision from the linesman. He really spotted that well. Didn't even need to go to VAR. It was really good. We hadn't created an amazing amount of chances, but we had been playing well. And I think in the last 2 games that we have played, we have had really good patterns of play. We are starting now to show that we are completely embedded into the way that Arteta wants to play with this team. And I think that's a good thing, because obviously it will help us next season. It's all about muscle memory. It's all about knowing where you're going to be, knowing where you have to pass, knowing where your teammates are to make it natural. And I think in the last 2 games we've done that. I think we've controlled the game. It's just about the next stage for Arsenal is being able to turn that control into a good amount of shots on target, a good amount of pressure on the opponent's goal. And I think we haven't done that a lot all season. I mean, we've scored a very low amount of goals. I think it's just over 50 we've scored. We haven't let in a lot of goals. I think we have the 3rd best defensive record in the league, which is impressive when you think about it. If we want to get higher up in the table, it's important to get the attack better, because scoring goals is what gets you higher up in the table, and we have good attackers, as we proved in this game. I think we had a chance just before half-time. Gabriel hit the bar from a really good cross. I think it was from Chambers. It was a looping header from Gabriel after a corner, and it hit the bar. He was really unlucky. But we looked a bit more dangerous before half-time, but we went into the break at 0-0. Now, obviously, at this stage, Spurs were losing and Everton were losing as well. Everton lost 5-0. They were completely pumped by Manchester City, as I thought they would be, because I didn't think there was going to be any contest. Leicester beating Spurs was obviously big for them, because obviously they were going for top 4. And at this point, Arsenal was 7th and going into Conference League. So the second half started, and it wasn't too long before we got a goal, and it was Nicolas Pepe again. He's had a really good end to the season, and what I like about Pepe is that he's really dangerous in the box, and his movement in the box has got better and better all season. I've talked about it before in terms of Pepe's movement when there's a cutback opportunity, especially from the left wing. So if Tierney is running down the left wing and he's looking for someone in the penalty box, Pepe is usually the man that will always run there. He's really good at that. He's been coached that very well. There were a lot of goals last season. You think on the Manchester United goal, the Newcastle goal last season, where he was on the penalty spot and finishing. And it's similar here. I mean, in the last 2 games, you've had him in the penalty spot scoring. And obviously the goal against Palace was very good. Again, coming from the left with Tierney, crossing it in, and Pepe shooting with his right foot. And this was similar, but it was on the other side. So we go down the line with Tierney. Doesn't really work out. Xhaka, who gets the ball really nicely, puts it on a plate for Chambers. Chambers crosses it into Pepe. First touch with his left foot, great. Second touch, shoots it in with his right foot. It was a really good goal, really good finish. The best thing about the goal was probably the reaction of the fans. I know it's cliche. I know you're probably going to hear a lot of it. But just hearing that roar when a goal went in from your home fans, it was just happy to see. Obviously, we've had fans in the stadium this season. We had it against Rapid Vienna, and I think we had it against Southampton at home. No, Burnley at home. So we've had fans in the stadium this season, but not as many as there was at the game yesterday. And it was just nice to hear them really support Pepe. And it was a really good goal. And obviously, he's really come into life the last few weeks, the last few games. He's been getting more starts. He's been getting more goals. He's all end product, Pepe is. And I think that's okay as long as you have a good balance of technical quality around him. So I think we set up really well here. We had two creators, two technical players, and two, I think Tim Stillman said it best, two killers. And I think that works. I think Aubameyang and Pepe as your killers, if you will, as your forwards, the ones that are going to finish the chances. And you have Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe, who are your technical players. And obviously Smith-Rowe's had a really good season. He's been fantastic. I think arguably a lot of people are saying he's our player of the season. I mean, you all know my thoughts about who's player of the season. And obviously we're going to lose Martin Odegaard in the summer, which is going to be a real shame. Hopefully we can work out something about bringing him back. But I think that creativity is something we will have to figure out, and we're starting to get more of a balance in the side. So after the goal, Brighton had a chance to go through. Connolly was open. They made two changes at half-time. Aaron Connolly was one of them. And he went through on goal with one punt up the pitch. I couldn't believe that it wasn't offside. He goes into the box. Holding does quite a good job defending him, but he shoots well wide. There was no defenders near him. So it was a bit of a warning shot. But after that, it was basically all Arsenal. Odegaard, again, he had a really good game. He makes a lovely pass to Aubameyang, who cuts in, passes it back to Odegaard, who falls over. It could have been a penalty, but it wasn't. Odegaard, again, he's capable of producing these balls, and it's just the balls forward that we haven't seen enough from Arsenal players this season, and it's Aubameyang running through the channels. He always drifts onto the left, and you like to see it a bit more often. And obviously, I think Aaron Webster, who was on the right side of the centre-backs for Brighton, and I think he done a really good job of marshalling Aubameyang. I think Aubameyang, again, went through on goal. I think it was Smith-Rowe with the pass this time. And again, Adam Webster keeps up with him really well, and Aubameyang shot wide. But it's that kind of ball, that penetrative ball, that you want to see more often. And obviously, a lot of teams will sit back against Arsenal because they know that we're not really that creative anymore. But when there is space, you want to see players being able to put through on goal, and Aubameyang had that chance, and Odegaard was the man that passed it to him. But then we got a second goal, and it was Pepe with another. He gets the ball from Odegaard. It was a nice pass to him. He dribbles into the box and finishes into the bottom corner with his left foot. It's the sort of goal that you want to see him score more. It was through Dunk's legs, which was really nice as well. I think the commentators said it was deliberate. It looked like it was. If you remember earlier in the season, we had a goal against Sheffield United at home. This was again a game where we weren't that good. It was during the run where we had no creativity, but Pepe dribbled from the right into the box and managed to finish with his left foot. And it was obviously his 15th goal of the season. It took him above everyone else in terms of goal contributions for the season. with 21. He just finishes one above Alex Lacazette. He's done fantastic this season in terms of end product. Obviously, he hasn't been there all the time. He hasn't been consistent all the time. But in terms of actual goals and assists, he's had a good season. He's taken a good step forward. 10 league goals is nothing to gloss over. He had a good season. I think this is the first season for a while where Arsenal had 3 people on over 10 league goals. So that was Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang. It's good. You're hoping for more goals elsewhere. You're hoping for more goals from them. You want your striker to score 20, 25. Aubameyang, I think, scored 15, 16 this season. So he had a pretty lean spell. But you want them to be getting goals more often. And Pepe, with 10 league goals, hopefully he can go into next season with his head held up high. I think it just makes the decision to start Willian over him an absolute travesty, because we wasted nearly half a season trying to get Willian to work when it just wasn't, and Pepe not getting the game time he deserved. Remember, Pepe finished the season last season really well, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans, including myself, wanted to see him in the team more. And it looked like that Pepe was just not someone Mikel Arteta liked. And hopefully now it's turned around. I think he's improved as a player, and that's credit to Arteta as well, but it's also credit to Pepe, because I think he could go from really bad to making a moment out of nothing. But now he's pretty consistent. He's anonymous in some games, but then he'll produce a goal or produce an assist. And I think that's important, because I think we need that in our team. He's a good player to do that. And again, a team that hasn't got a lot of goals, Nicolas Pepe is someone who continually scores. So I hope we see that more often. After that goal, the game sort of slowed down. We had done well and we had done what we needed. It was basically all on other results. Pepe did have a chance to go through for his hat-trick, but he tried for a chip. Again, if Pepe just thinks he can go through on goal and shoots with his left foot, he's finishing it every time. I don't know why he has to go through with a chip. Partey hit the bar. It was a lovely pass from Granit Xhaka, who, again, like I said, he was very good on the day. Him and Partey really progressed the ball really, really well. Partey hit the bar. It was a lovely pass. Partey's so unlucky. It looked like it meant a lot to him with the fans being back. He wanted to get a goal, wanted to impress the fans. I think the fans will end up loving him, because when a player wants to impress that much, the fans see that and feed off it and see that he's trying hard for the team. But ultimately, I think we were good going forward. The crowd definitely helped, I think. I think Brighton were a bit on the beach, but I also think the fans played a good part in that. In terms of where we finished, well, this is where Spurs come in. Spurs made it 3-2 with Gareth Bale, and then they made it 4-2 again with Bale. There was a handball decision, which I couldn't believe when I saw it. That wasn't given, but there's no point talking about it now. Arsenal finished 8th. They don't have European football for the first time in 25 years. I must say, once I heard that Spurs had went 3-2 and had finished above us again, forget the Conference League. It was a real blow to me to finish below Spurs again. I think it would have gave us some sort of salvation, something to celebrate if we finished above Spurs. Now, it wouldn't have made everything better. Ultimately, this season's been awful. We all know that. But I think finishing above Spurs would have been some sort of consolation prize. It would have been something to be happy about. And for it to be snatched away quite late was a bit gutting for me, because I always want to finish above Spurs no matter what. And it was just a bit of a hammer blow. Now, 5 seasons below Spurs, it's really not good enough for Arsenal. We know what kind of club we are, and we want to finish above Spurs all the time. So it was a bit of a hammer blow. But we have no European football next season, and obviously that's going to push a lot of players out, you'd think, but it's also going to make us hopefully have more chance to get further up in the league. It will allow Arteta to potentially have more time on the training ground with these players to teach them the way to really push them into a new phase, into a new position next season. This season hasn't been good enough. We didn't deserve Europe on the balance of 38 games. So next season, we have to be better. There's no guarantee that being out of Europe will make us go up higher in the table. A lot of people point to Chelsea when they finished 10th, or Liverpool when they finished 8th and went for the title. There is no guarantee we're going to do that, especially because our teams, I don't think, are set up for that. I think we still have a long way to go in terms of recruitment. We need to bring in a lot of good players, a lot of players that will make us balance. I think in terms of controlling games, progressing the ball, it's there. It's just about creating enough shots volume-wise to win games. And once we start doing that, we could be okay. But obviously that is easier said than done. And this comes back to the fact of we need creativity in the side. Obviously, Emile Smith-Rowe came in after December and improved us. And you can tell Arsenal fans love him. If you heard the reception he got when he came off yesterday, was lovely to see. Fans really appreciating what he's done for us this season as one of our best players. Obviously, he's one of our own. He's come from the academy, so Arsenal fans will appreciate him even more. But we do need more creativity. Obviously, as I've said many times in this podcast, Odegaard's going back to Real Madrid. We don't know if he's going to stay. I doubt it at this point. I sort of hope he will, but I don't know if that's possible. It all depends on what happens with Zidane, and there are reports that Zidane's going to leave. So I don't think, unless the new manager at Real Madrid is someone who's a bit more of a pragmatist, someone like Allegri, then potentially Odegaard's probably going to stay and get some game time at Real Madrid, which is a shame because I think Arsenal fans liked Martin Odegaard, and I think in the last 2 games he really showed his quality. I think he started his loan spell really well, and then the injury I think he had on international duty really disrupted things. But then he's just come back into the fore and come back into form right at the end, and it was good to see. Like I said, I want him to join. He's my number 1 target for the creativity, just because I think we've seen him. He's integrated into the side now. He can improve with more consistency at Arsenal. But I know that we're not the most attractive option anymore because we have no Europe. So I hope he stays, but I don't know if he will. So this comes on to the summer. What are we going to do about creativity? There have been links this morning, once again, to Emi Buendia, and that's a signing that I would be happy with. He's a good creator, he creates good numbers, he's proven in the Premier League. I know people have been saying, well, can he do it in the Premier League? Yes, he can. He created a load of chances in the Premier League when he was with Norwich the first time. He had an incredible season in the Championship, and the Championship is really good for raising attacking talent. Apparently, it might be 40 million quid. That's quite expensive, but obviously now Norwich are in the Premier League, it's sort of understandable. But again, it completely depends what happens with the money that we raise through sales. We don't know how much money we're going to have at all this summer, so it could come into the fore that we might have to sell players like Maitland-Niles, like Bellerin, like Joe Willock. And Joe Willock is someone who's been getting a lot of praise. Obviously, he scored again yesterday, 7 in a row. It's just exceptional when you talk about it now. And I would like to see him in the Arsenal side because I do think he has that Aaron Ramsey tendency to get in the box and to be able to be a goal threat. But I just don't know how strong he is with the ball and how technically secure he is with the ball. So that's obviously a worry. And I don't think that Mikel Arteta trusts him as a player in the double pivot. He's definitely not a 10, very similar to Aaron Ramsey. I think his runs have to come from deep and late. That's what makes him good. But I also think he's a bit more of a dribbler as well. And I don't think Ramsey was anything like that. I think Ramsey was good with the ball. He was technically secure with the ball more than people want to admit. But he never was able to dribble with the ball going forward. And I think as a ball carrier, I think Willock is good at that. But if you can't fit him in the system, then we might have to have a difficult conversation. I think it's a win-win for Arsenal anyway. You either get a really good player who's a really good talent, or you get a really good fee for him. And I think a couple of weeks ago, I think 20 to 25 million, I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have accepted it. Now, after 7 goals in a row, you're talking about 30, 35 million at least before we can start talking about Willock. And that could be difference between 1 or 2 players coming in, and that could be important for us. So it is going to be a difficult decision. I understand a lot of fans want to keep Willock, and I thought, especially at the start of last season, I thought Willock was one of our more interesting talents. I don't think we had a lot of central midfielders who were good at arriving late in the box, but it's just around him that I'm worried about, and about the technical quality. I like our midfield with Partey and Xhaka, but there's not enough goals in the centre of the midfield. I think Willock, if I had to make a prediction, I think Willock will stay just because in terms of numbers, I don't think we have enough. I think we have Xhaka, Partey, El Neni and Willock. Ceballos is obviously going back now, so we're not going to see him again. We're not buying him. He'll probably go back to Real Betis this summer. So I think Willock will be an option, but hopefully we can give him enough game time and he can develop in the side. Because I think the worst thing would be us doing what we did to Reece Nelson, for example, and not giving him any minutes and just making his value tank. If Arsenal are not going to use Joe Willock, we need to sell him to a party who are interested to get some money for him. Arsenal need to make a decision with that. Arteta needs to make a decision. They need to make a decision if Willock is in this side or if he's not. And hopefully he is, and he proves a lot of fans wrong. But if he's not, I completely understand. But it is a big summer for Arsenal. If you had to ask me now how many signings we would make, I think it could be up to 5. I think 5 signings would probably be the dream for Arsenal. And I think the signings include a central midfielder, a number 10, a backup left back, a backup goalkeeper, and ideally for me, a starting right back. There have been reports today that we are after a right-sided centre-back. I really hope that doesn't happen. We have William Saliba, who scored last night for Nice against Lyon. We have William Saliba. We need to use him. We have put a lot of resources into him. It would just be a waste of resources if we just don't use him. The only way I would accept a right-sided centre-back joining Arsenal this summer is if Rob Holding leaves. That is the only way I would accept that, because then you bring in someone more experienced to partner Gabriel at centre-back, and then you give them a season and William Saliba ultimately takes over. You give Saliba the cup games, but that's the only way. We shouldn't be looking for a right-sided centre-back. A right back is much more important. A backup left back to Kieran Tierney is important as well. Now, also, without Europe, we're going to need a smaller squad. So you might say, well, we don't need a right-sided centre-back this summer. We've got enough centre-back cover. We don't need a backup left back. Our backup left back is Bukayo Saka. That's who we will use a backup left back if Tierney gets injured. We might have to stick with Callum Chambers and Cedric at right back. We've got Maitland-Niles coming back in the summer. Can we convince him to stay as fullback cover? We don't know. These are all questions that Arsenal and Arteta are going to have to answer, and are going to sell it to the fans this summer. Arsenal fans are not stupid, but they are also easily convinced as well. I think fans are easily convinced. If you convince them that there is a plan and that this decision benefits this and we had to do it because of this, fans will get on board. I think fans don't get on board when there doesn't seem to be a plan, like when we brought in Willian. That just seemed to benefit one person and one person only, and that was COYG. So less of those signings would be really good. It's a big summer for Arsenal. We could improve next season, but it's all about the summer now. All about the transfers that we produce and all about who we bring in. Hopefully we do improve. We will have 38 games in the Premier League now with no midweek distractions anymore, unfortunately, in Europe to really have a crack at the Premier League. There's no excuses now. We have to go for top 6. People will say top 4. Let's get back into Europe first, and then we can start talking about top 4 again. Right, so that's the end of the podcast. There was no questions today, so apologies for that. But I wanted to firstly say thank you. Thank you all for listening. I know this is not the biggest podcast in the world, and I understand that, but everyone has to start from somewhere. I've done nearly 40 episodes of this podcast now. I'm really happy I've done it. I'm really happy that I'm allowed to speak to you about my favourite team, about football, about any kind of ramblings I have. Arsenal are obviously finished for another season, but me, I am not. This week or next week, there will be an awards podcast. We'll be talking about the best and worst players this season and other categories that we will talk about, and basically give a rating to each player based on this season. There will be other podcasts as well, some transfer podcasts. We'll be talking about players that we are linked with, players we assign. We will also hopefully be talking about Arsenal players at the Euros. Currently, I think there's a few that are at the Euros at the moment. I think Tierney's going to the Euros. But Leno's going to the Euros. So these are players that we can monitor during the summer. And also there will be some extra podcasts as well. Me talking about favourite players at Arsenal in the past. So some of my favourite players of all time. So there will be content over the summer, and I hope you join me for that. But once again, thank you so much for listening and allowing me to be in your ears or watching me for the majority of this season. So thank you, and we will be back next week with the awards ceremony, and hopefully Arsenal will be back next season. But until then, thank you, and come on you Gunners.
Well, it's broken Kanu's way, and De Hui's right out of the centre. It's Kanu, what's he going to do? Oh!